All right, today we're diving into one of Kotlin's most powerful and sometimes confusing features, scoped functions. Now, these are incredible tools that let us run code inside the context of a specific object. And you know what? Mastering them really boils down to asking one single clarifying question. And this is it. This is the whole game. Is an object changing itself, or are you using it to create something completely new? If you can answer that question, you'll know exactly which function to use. To really get a feel for this, we're going to explore this idea through 4 different layers, starting with the real physical world.
Okay, let's step into Layer 1, the physical factory. This is where things are actually built, tweaked, and put to the test.
I want you to picture this super high-tech factory floor. There's a conveyor belt, and this complex robotic arm, our scoped function, plucks an item, our object, off the line and pulls it into its own special little work zone. Now, once it's in there, that robot basically has 2 choices.
And this slide nails that choice perfectly. On the left, you've got self-configuration. This is our apply function. The robot bolts on an engine, gives the item a new coat of paint, and then puts the exact same item, just upgraded, right back on the belt. But on the right, you have returning a result. This is like our run function. Here, the robot runs a diagnostic, maybe a stress test, and what comes out is something totally different, a quality assurance report. The original item doesn't come back, just the result of the test. See the difference?
So let's make that official. Think of the apply function as the ultimate self-customizer. It's perfect for setting up an object because you do all your configuration inside the code block, and what you get back is the object itself, all configured and ready to go. And honestly, this is the best way to remember it. Apply is the self-setup station. It's where an object gets itself all sorted out for whatever's next.
On the flip side, you've got run. It's the expression runner. It also runs a block of code on an object, but its whole purpose is to give you back a final result. You don't get the object back, you get the answer to whatever you asked of it.
Okay, we've got the physical world down. Now let's see how this idea evolves as we move into our second layer, the digital network. Here, we're talking about handling things like uncertainty and side effects.
So we're now inside this massive, glowing network. Little data packets, our new objects, are flying all over the place. But you see that flickering area, that unstable input zone? That's the danger zone. That represents null data, which, if we're not careful, could crash the whole system.
So, how do we handle it? With a really precise, safe process. First, we use a safe call, that little question mark with a dot, which acts as our guard. It just checks, hey, does this packet even exist? If it does, then step 2. Let pulls that packet into a secure little bubble to transform it into something new. And at the same time, also can be working in the background, logging the packet's journey without getting in the way. Finally, the main flow just continues on with the new transformed value. Super clean.
So let is our conditional doer. It's like a secure, temporary workspace that only even opens up if the object isn't null. Inside, you refer to the object as it, you can transform it, and then you return a totally new computed value. It's the safe way to create something new from something that might not exist.
And then we have also, which is just the perfect name for it. It's the sidekick. It also gets access to the object as it, but you use it for things that don't affect the main story, like logging or debugging. And here's the key part. No matter what you do inside also, it always returns the original, unchanged object, so the main chain of operations is never broken.
I love this way of thinking about it. Also basically puts your object into sidekick mode. It's there, it's helping, it's observing, but it's not changing the hero of the story.
All right, we've gone from the factory floor to the digital network. Now let's land in Layer 3, the developer's craft. This is where the rubber meets the road, where these concepts become real tools for writing cleaner, way more expressive code.
So, just imagine you're floating inside an app's code. You see a developer's hand just elegantly wiring things together, connecting UI components. Without all that clunky, repetitive setup code we all used to write, that right there is the magic of scoped functions.
And this slide just shows how practical this stuff is. Using apply on a string builder or an Android intent, that's our self-setup station from the factory. You can figure it all in one go. Using let on some user info that might be null, that's the perfect way to safely show a welcome message without risking a crash. And chaining an also in there, that lets you peek inside a long chain of operations to print out the state of a list for debugging, all without breaking the flow.
Okay, for our final layer, we're going to zoom way out and get a little more human. In Layer 4, the human decision, we're looking at the difference between our own personal growth and getting some guided insight. So, picture this scene. There are two people at a crossroads. One is holding a journal. That's our object. It represents their identity, their story, who they are. The other person is a trusted mentor. And you can just feel the weight of a big decision hanging in the air.
Now, if we look at this through the lens of apply, it's a really beautiful metaphor for personal growth, right? This is self-customization. You decide to make a change. You work on your habits. You learn new skills. You are configuring yourself.
And after that period of work, what happens? You return to the world as the same person, but fundamentally upgraded. That is apply. It returns the object itself, just better.
But let is about guided insight. This is when you take your context, your journal, your story, and you hand it over to the mentor. They process it, and what they give you back isn't you. They return a new, computed result, a piece of advice, a new perspective. You don't get yourself back. You get wisdom that was derived from your experience.
Which brings us to our conclusion, the coder's choice. After moving through these 4 layers, from the factory to our own lives, we now have a really clear mental model for how to make our choice when we're coding.
So here's the cheat sheet. It really just boils down to 2 simple questions you have to ask yourself. 1, how do I want to refer to the object inside the block? As this or as it? And 2, what do I want to get back at the end? Do I want the object itself back, or do I want a brand new result? So if you want to configure an object and get it back, you use apply. If you need to safely transform something that might be null and get a new value back, you use let. It really is that simple.
Because in the end, that's the profound choice these functions give us. To act within the context of an object is to choose whether the outcome is the object itself or simply the echo of its task.